Hello everyone, welcome to my 2020 MLB season prediction video. We are exactly less than 5 days away from the start of the 2020 60-game season starting. A lot of wacky things can happen in the 60-game season, but I'm just going to give my opinion on where I think this season will most likely end up. So, without further ado, we are of course going to start off with my New York Yankees. Here's what the lineup should look like, hopefully on Thursday against the Nationals. The issue here for the question facing third base, Urshela should be at third base. But down the line, the only issue I could see would be if, and only if, Mike Tauchman doesn't play in the outfield. You can have an option of Andujar DHing. With the Yankees, they have an option to rest Luke Voit if they need to. They can put Mike Ford in. Mike Ford should make the 40-man roster, and I'm assuming that he should, considering that you need to have about 26 men. It's about 26 players you need in your roster going into opening day. The good thing about this lineup is they're young. They can score a lot of runs. You have Aaron Judge. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. He needs to stay healthy. Otherwise, this team could go in a free fall. 60 games matters. This isn't like last season where the Yankees had a renaissance with their AAA call-ups. Scranton still has a lot of good guys over there. The Yankees could probably ask a couple of their minor leaguers to say, look, we need help. Can you guys come up to the big club? Maybe you guys were practicing pre-pandemic for a minor league season that could have happened but didn't. So, I'll just mention something interesting, and I know I'm bringing up my supervisor from work, one of them, but she has a big addiction. No joke. Big addiction to someone on the Yankees. You may be wondering, who is this person? Well, Aaron Hicks. Here's the problem. Where is Aaron Hicks? I don't see him anywhere on this roster. Maybe he's somewhere else in the organization. But probably Hicks is not going to make the lineup because you have all these other infielders right now. So, let's move on now to starting pitching. Everybody's going to be talking about Garrett Cole. Tanaka, that's an issue because we do not know what the deal is with the baseball that hit him. Maybe he'll make a start. If I had to make a theory on who I think could potentially make an extra start, have to be Chad Green, because Chad Green has started a couple games before. This is only in the early one, but the lineup is good. Lineup is good. You have your rotation. Now, I am noticing somebody missing. Now, who is this person you may be wondering who's missing? That would be no one other than Domingo Germán, who claimed on Instagram he wanted to retire, then took it back. I don't know how you do that and annoy everyone, but I have hope for Jordan Montgomery. I really do. I think he has potential. He kind of reminds me of when Ivan Nova first came up, and Nova was consistent. So maybe Montgomery could be that liable fifth starter before Garrett Cole. But the next season, if Germán comes back, that's a whole different story. But I'm going to be honest with everyone. I think in the short run, until Chapman comes back from his quarantine, because he's quarantining because he tested positive for the virus. Once Chapman comes back from quarantine, they're going to be very dangerous. The Yankees are Going to be a good club. Now, I'm coming up with these numbers from Baseball Reference. These stats that come, I'm reading it from Bleacher Report. The Yankees are right now favored to win the NL East with a record of 35-25. Best record right now will go to the Astros. The Astros, I'll just mention, will go to their lineup right now. So we'll go to the Astros. Everybody knows the Astros are the most hated team in baseball. We know that. But, you know, despite the cheating, look at the roster. Springer is going to be begging for a bigger contract. You still have Altuve. You still have Brantley, Bregman, Gurriel, Alvarez, Correa. You know, they still have a good lineup. 1 through 7. I don't know about Kyle Tucker and Martin Maldonado. That's going to be an issue with the catching, with the Astros. 1 through 7 in the lineup is pretty good. I got to say, they got a good lineup. So, sadly, the Yankees still end up with the second best record. But in my postseason bracket, I'm going to explain why I think the Yankees still have an edge in some sense. And I'm not really going to go into scheduling because that really wouldn't be fair because of all the travel restrictions thanks to the season. But you can get a good idea of what the Astros are capable of considering they are playing in a very weak AL West. It's still a very weak division. So we'll go to that. And let's just quickly mention the pitching. Pitching's still going to be good. You still got Verlander as your ace. You still got Greinke. And you got McCullers, who was a good third starter. And I don't know who these two are. But 1 through 3 is good. You still got Ryan Presley, who's a good setup man. You got Joe Smith, another good setup. And then Osuna, who's a very good closer. So, that's Houston's situation. But if I had to go by legit contenders in the division, let's go to the Oakland A's. The A's have a decent lineup, something that doesn't come up to you. I look at this lineup, and the only thing I look at it is Marcus Semien. I look at Matt Chapman, Olsen, Chris Davis, of course, Piscotty, and then Murray. That's it. Everything else on this lineup doesn't surprise me. Pitching for the A's, only pitcher I really know well is Mike Friars, because Friars was on the Padres a while back, I believe. I don't remember where Friars used to play. Did Friars play for the Padres? Let me look it up. Because Friars is a good, it's like Seth Lugo in a way. He reminds me of that. I'm just going to look it up. No, okay, yeah. Because what happened was in my MLB thing, I actually simulated Friars to go to the Padres, and apparently it worked out in my favor. And last season, I'll mention, Friars pitched a no-hitter. I will mention that. And if I am correct, yeah, he was on the 2017 Astros. So look at that. Hendricks is a decent closer, but you still got Joakim Soria as a setup man. Trevino is still a good setup man. So, the strength could be the bullpen for the A's. The A's have a very good bullpen. Just like the Astros does. Because if you don't have decent starting pitching, you could still somewhat make up for the loss by a good bullpen. There's no question about that. Angels, I'll just mention, I'm looking forward to seeing Ohtani pitch. That will be something. The rest of the A's, only thing that impresses me is Hansel Robles. He's still a good closer, but the bullpen for the Anaheim Angels, very weak. Very weak. So, let's talk about a team. Oh, and I'll mention the lineup very quickly. Mike Trout, is he going to play? That's a very good question because he's thinking of not playing because of personal issues thanks to the virus. So, Rendon's still somebody reliable, I think. You still got future Hall of Famer Albert Pujols. You got Justin Upton. Antrell Simmons, wow, he's on the Angels still. And then you have Jason Castro. So I'm not really impressed with Anaheim's lineup. And I still call them the Anaheim Angels. I still call them that, okay? And you're going to hear a little bit of the noise. I do apologize from the game. So let's get into it here. And I'll put this on mute for the rest of the video. I do apologize if you guys heard the noise a little bit. Yeah, looking for the Rangers. Now, in a shocking move, the Cleveland Indians let Corey Kluber out of their hands and goes to the Texas Rangers. This could be, I think, the only legit team that could match up with the Astros in the AL West. Legit. Really legit, because according to Baseball Reference, and I'll take a look at this, 29-31, that's not fair. I'm sorry. But the Texas Rangers have a decent lineup. And a decent rotation. Look at 1 through 5. I like 1 through 5. Kluber, Minor, Lynn, Gibson. Gibson's a decent 4th starter. You know, you could always move Lyles up to the 4th spot if you have to. But they have a decent rotation. Cody Allen is a decent reliever. And then you have Clark, who can get you pivotal wins. If the Rangers come up key, and especially because you're playing a lot of your teams in the division. That's it. You're playing Seattle and Oakland and Anaheim a lot. You got a good chance. And then in the West, let's say the only issue is the NL West. They got better lineups in the West, but yeah, Texas is Texas. And lineup: Sinju Ju, Elvis Andrus, Willie Calhoun, Joey Gallo, Danny Santana, Todd Frazier, Odor, Guzman, Gingeros. I mean, this is a very, very good lineup. Could they match up against the Astros? Again, 60 games, anything can go. But I'm telling you right now, this is a team you need to watch. They're going to be competitive this year. I could potentially see them, and in a 30-game season, if I'm correct, let me see, what would be I think it's 30-30 for a 500 club. Yeah, I mean, that's the worst they could finish. 30-30 would be an accomplishment. Yeah, see, 30-30, I looked it up. If you add 30 plus 30, that's 60 games, so that's correct. Maybe they even finish up, what, 31-29 or 32-28, something like that. Again, I'm just telling you guys right now, if you are doing MLB fantasy, keep an eye on the Rangers. That's all I'm saying. If you have anybody in your fantasy team from the Rangers, you might be in decent shape. And also mention, Elvis Andrus is a veteran. You know, the only team he's ever played on is the Texas Rangers. So I know Elvis Andrus pretty well. Okay, so I'll just mention honorable notes from the Rays. The Rays, I don't really know. They have a decent lineup, but their strength is the pitching. I will bring that up. You got good pitching in Tampa. You got Snell, Morton. And by the way, I'm not going to forgive Snell for being selfish during negotiations with the Players Association. Oh, I need my full salary. You got your full salary. Playing 60 games and you're getting your full prorated salary. It makes me mad. But they got a good rotation. Alvarado is a decent setup man. Anderson, yeah, I mean, he was okay last season. He wasn't great, but you got good starting pitching in Tampa. I want to bring up the Blue Jays for a second, because the Blue Jays could have a chance to be competitive in the future because of this guy right here, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the son of course, MLB Hall of Famer, Vladimir Guerrero. You got a decent lineup in Canada. How's the pitching? That's the question. Ooh, you got Hyun Jun Ryu as your ace. Okay, not bad. You got Jace Anderson, you got Tanner Roark, Matt Shoemaker, and Trent Thornton. Yeah, so the strength of the American League East is the pitching. I gotta say, the pitching for both Toronto and Tampa on paper look pretty good. I gotta say. They look pretty good. So, I'll mention one last thing. Let's go to the Red Sox. Now, in Boston land, that is complicated. Where has Chris Sale gone? We do not know where Chris Sale will be, because here's the problem. He is injured. That's all I'm going to say. So in Boston, you're doomed. You're doomed in Boston. What? Eduardo Rodriguez, former Yankee Nathan Eovaldi, and then you got a bad 3-4-5 in Boston. You know, that's a terrible pitching rotation. And then what do you got here? Andrew Benintendi. There's only a few guys left from the 2018 team that won the World Series. Rafael Devers, Bogarts, Martinez, Moreland. There's only a few guys left from the 2018 team. Just saying. Now, let's talk about another team that I'm very excited to keep an eye on. The Minnesota Twins. Now, I don't know why Odorizzi is not the ace. I'd make him the ace. Chachin's not bad. You got Homer Bailey, Kenton Medea. Now look at this. Sergio Romo. Anybody remember this guy? Oh, that's right. He helped the Giants win the World Series in 2012. Brian Wilson's replacement. Taylor Rogers, he needs to be what he was last season. Don't look at the wins and loss. Look at the fact that his whip was 1. His ERA was under 3. So, that. But in the rest of the division, let's talk about the shameful Cleveland Indians, who are now officially in a rebuild. Here's more of a joke. How is Oliver Perez still in Major League Baseball? I don't get that. You got Bieber, you got Clevenger, Carrasco, and Plesac. I don't even know who Javal is. I only recognize the first 4 pitchers on the staff of that. Oh, let's go to the Twins batting lineup. Just mention that. Yeah, Kepler, Polanco, Cruz, Donaldson, Rosario, Garver. And remember, the Twins led the league in home runs last year. But what did that get them? Right, a loss to the Yankees. So let's just look at the lineup. You got Lindor, Santana, Ramirez. I mean, it's okay, but they can end up with an under 500 record. I'm sorry to say that. They can end up even going 30-30. But they're not making the playoffs. I'd be very surprised. And also, they let Yasiel Puig go. So that tells you that the Indians are a mess right now. The Indians are a complete mess. Let's talk about the White Sox. A lot of people pre-pandemic thought that they were going to win the AL Central. I still see them as a wild card team, or a team that is starting to build up for the future. The issue was the main part of their team was Chris Sale, and we know where he ended up. Decent lineup. How's the pitching? That's the question. Dallas Keuchel was your ace. I would not do that. I would make Giolito your ace. Oops, sorry about that. You got Gio Gonzalez, Dylan Chase, Ronaldo Lopez. So not bad, I guess. But I still think the Twins win the division. They have the third best record in the American League with 34 wins. Yankees would end up with 36 to 39 wins potentially. I wouldn't rule that out. In the Astros, I'm sorry, but if you don't agree with me on the Astros, then that's a whole different story. Let's go to the defending NL champion Braves. Former Philadelphia Phillies Cole Hamels is apparently on this team. King Felix apparently is on this team. The Braves still have a decent chance to win the East, but let's look at their lineup. You have a decent lineup here, but I just do not see this being realistic. So, Nationals, we know about them, right? They're favored to win the division, but I see it wrong. And I'll go into the reason why I think the Nationals are even going to miss the playoffs. You got a good lineup. You still got a decent lineup here. But I'm sorry to say this, but Philadelphia is heading in the right direction. And I'll go into why I think the Phillies are going to end up winning this division. And I'll even go into why I think the Mets are going to make the wild card. So, let's get into why I think Philadelphia is going to win this division. Okay? Now, first of all, the Phillies will end up with a record of 34 wins. Alright? 34 wins and 26 losses, if I'm doing the math correctly. They got a very good rotation here. But it's not the rotation that makes the Phillies good. It's the lineup that makes the Phillies very good. Look how great this lineup is, and you have a great bench, and you have Joe Girardi as your manager. So I think the Phillies outsmart the Mets some way. I don't know how they will, but I think the Phillies end up with this division because they got a pretty good lineup. And also, don't forget, you have Bryce Harper. You have Andrew McCutchen. You have JT Realmuto, Didi Gregorius, Jay Bruce. You have Neil Walker and Josh Harrelson off the bench. So you have options if you're Joe Girardi. So now, let's go to the New York Mets and why I think they will end up with a record of 33 and 27. Okay, so look at this lineup here. You got Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, Robinson Cano, J.D. Davis, Michael Conforto. Here's the problem. Where's Cespedes? Oh, that's right. They don't even have an accurate lineup here. But yeah, you got Cespedes coming back. You got Wilson Ramos. You got Ahmed Rosario. Who says the Mets can't end up with a record of 33 and 27? The Phillies ending up with a record of 34 and 26. And the Nationals shockingly ending up with a record of 31 and 29 and missing the playoffs. I could see this happen. You got a good lineup in Queens. You got a good pitching rotation led by Jacob deGrom. Then what I would do is I would let Stroman be the second man. I would let Matz be the third guy, dump Porcello to the fifth spot, and then put Waka as the fourth starter. The main question for the Mets this season is the bullpen acquisition of former New York Yankee Dylan Betances. Does he have a chance to be good? Redeem himself? Also keep in mind, you still got Jeurys Familia. You still got Robert Gsellman. You still got Justin Wilson. And then there's Seth Lugo. And if it wasn't for Mickey Callaway making that drastic move to put Seth Lugo in the bullpen, Seth Lugo would have never figured out himself as a reliever. So Met fans, even though you wanted Mickey Callaway gone and you now have Luis Rojas, if it wasn't for Mickey Callaway, Seth Lugo would not be a Met. So keep that in mind. But that's just my bold prediction. I think the Phillies will win the NL East. And if the Nats win it, okay, good. But I just, in the long run, do not see Washington being competitive. It's an off year for them. And, you know, it happens. Sometimes you don't get your way, but what can you do? So now, we're going to go to my predictions in the Central. And in my honest opinion, I think the Cubs have a good chance to win the NL Central. You got Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, Contreras, Wilson, Del Caso, Happ, and Kipnis. Rotation's pretty good. You got Darvish, Lester, Hendricks, Quintanilla, and then Chatwood could be a decent fifth starter. It just depends on what happens. But your strength is Craig Kimbrell. He can be a good closer. Just depends if he doesn't blow games. Brewers, we know how they got Christian Yelich. We know how Ryan Braun is Ryan Braun. But pitching, I don't really know. I can't really see this much in the Brewers. So now that brings me to a team that potentially has something good working for them. The Reds. You got Luis Castillo as your ace. Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer, Ray Miley, and I don't even know who this guy is, but 1-4 doesn't look bad. How's the lineup? You got Votto, you got Moustakas, you got Galvis. So maybe they have a chance, but I can't really say. I just think the Cubs and the Cardinals are like the only legit teams that have a chance in the Central. And not to mention, Yadier Molina is getting older. He was supposed to retire, but now he's thinking of waiting until there's large crowds admitted back against baseball stadiums for a goodbye tour. Rotation. I'm not really impressed by the Cardinals' rotation. So right now, I just give the advantage to the Cubs. I think the Cubs end up winning this division. Now, according to Baseball Reference, they have the Cubs ending up with a record of, I'm trying to get this correct here, 31-29. I don't really know. I mean, I guess I could give the Cubs 33 wins here. Be fair to them. Maybe they have a late push with the Cardinals or something. I could see that happening, but I just think the Cubs end up in the playoffs and winning their division. So now I'm going to get into a division I'm very excited to keep an eye on. Excluding the Colorado Rockies. And you may be wondering, why don't I want to talk about the Rockies? Well, Nolan Arenado is going to get traded. Alright, that's all I'm going to say. I will be very shocked if Nolan Arenado is not traded before or on the deadline date in August. I mean, yeah, Arenado hit 40-plus home runs last season. That's fine, except you're going to be on a losing ball club. You know where I think Arenado could end up? And call me crazy. I hate to say it. I think Arenado's going to end up on the Phillies. That's another reason why I think Philadelphia is going to win the division. I think Arenado's going to end up in Philadelphia. I'll be very shocked if Joe Girardi doesn't push the Phillies management to get Nolan Arenado during the trade deadline. Or who knows, maybe my phone could blow up right now as I'm recording this, and I get a breaking news alert from ESPN or The Score saying that Nolan Arenado got traded to the Phillies. And no, Met fans, you have a third baseman. His name is Jeff McNeil. You don't need another third baseman. The Phillies need it more than you. So, yeah, wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies got Arenado. And also, your pitching stinks. What is this? This isn't good pitching. You call this a pitching rotation? For all we know, the Rockies could end up winning 20 games for all we know. They could end up being one of the... They could be Detroit Tiger or what other team I think could be bad? Right, the Orioles. That's how bad they're going to be. So let's look at the other teams. Dodgers. No David Price, no problem. They can fill the void somehow. You still got Kershaw and you still got Buehler. But next season for the Dodgers, you do have Price, so maybe not in a loss tier, but Dodgers still end up winning this division. Now, a team that I think could be good. Oh, let's look at the lineup very quickly. You got Mookie Betts, you got Muncy, you got Turner, you got Bellinger. I mean, you got a good lineup in LA. It's just that, can they ever get you to a World Series championship? That's the question. And win your first World Series since 1988. This is the big off-season deal. Madison Bumgarner ending up in Arizona. I never would have thought that in a million years, and I thought the Yankees were going to make a push to get him. I guess not. Is it possible that anything goes here? We'll see. So, not bad. In Arizona, you got that happening for you. Got an okay lineup. Nothing that really impresses me. So let's talk about the Giants. And some old relics from their dynasty still apparently seem to be on their team. One example, Hunter Pence. Another example, Pablo Sandoval. Another example, Brandon Belt. Another example, Buster Posey. Everybody's talking about Rob Brantley being the next guy after Posey. Look at the rotation. You got Cueto as your ace. You got Samardzija. You got Guzman, Smiley, and Suarez. But bullpen's not good. Alright? The Dodgers, on the other hand, they still got Jensen as their closer. And lastly, let's go to the Padres. I guess the lineup is okay. Maybe the Padres end up competing with the Dodgers. I could maybe see that happening. But here's the thing with the Padres. You still got all-star closer Kirby Yates. Paddock's going to be the starting pitcher, I think, on opening day. You have an okay rotation. It's just that the Dodgers still end up dominating you. And I just don't see that happening. I'm really sorry, Padres fans. Unless maybe something happens with the Dodgers and you guys get to a hot start, then maybe you guys still have what it takes. Okay, so now we're going to get to my final predictions. Now, I went a little overboard, and I thought maybe the Nationals could end up winning the wild card. Okay, maybe. If I had to go with another team that could win the wild card right now in the entire National League, I'm going to have to say Padres to be fair. It's only if the Nationals crash and the Padres end up with a winning record and somehow end up in the playoffs. Maybe the Cardinals. So I figured just put the Nationals against the Mets. Be fair here. Okay. So let's go with numbers to be fair here. I'm going to go first with the Yankees. Yankees will end up with a winning record. And I want to be fair here. Winning record of 38 games. All right? 38 and 22. That will be their final number. 38 and 22 will be their final record. Astros end up with a record of 35 and 25. Twins end up with the same record. I think that's a possibility, but I think maybe to be fair, could depend on win-load losses. I don't really know how that's going to work out, but Twins end up with the third best record. Tampa Bay Rays end up with a record of 34 and 26. If all goes well for the White Sox, if they can get a record of 33 and 27, they end up in the postseason. Dodgers end up with a record of 39 and 21. I could see that legitly happening. Or a record of 40 and 20. There could even be a possibility they finish 41 and 19. Or 42 and 18 potentially. I could not give that out a given. The Chicago Cubs. And this is going to be an important question for the Cubs. Can the Cubs end up with a record of 34 wins? All right? And 23 losses, if I'm correct. I really have to look up that number correctly because these numbers just get me so confused. Let's see. Yeah, the number would be 34 and... Yeah, 34 and 26 would have to be their record, right? Same with the Phillies. They'd have to end up with that record too. They can even finish with a record of 35 and 25 and still be good. And still potentially get Nolan Arenado from the Rockies. I still think that's going to happen. Mets end up with a record of 33 wins and 27 losses to get the first wild card. And the the Washington Nationals, if all goes well, ends up with a record of 32 and 28. So, that's how things could end up in my book. I hope I'm right about a majority of this. Maybe I'm wrong about the Nationals. Maybe I'm right about the Padres. Maybe it's the opposite way. Maybe the Mets, hate to say it, lineup on paper looks good. They collapse in the end. Could happen. I just honestly don't know how this is going to end up, being honest. But I can't wait to see what the ending ends up being. I'm just stuttering there because I'm so excited, folks. We are almost getting close to the 23rd. And I can't wait to see how things are going to end up. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, please take care.